You ready to do this, Matt?
I am ready, Spencer. Punch it, Chewy.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot is Matt Shaw. We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 140. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on our website, fortofnerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are available. Stop by and relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Matt, another week. Welcome back to the Fortress of Nerditude. How are you?
I am well. It's good to be back. The week has been a little dull. I won't lie. Lots of work, a little
play.
Has
it been hot, though?
It has been extremely hot.
So hot and dull.
Hot and dull. Actually, on Saturday, we had a real good time. One of my friends from college came down with her family. We went out to SeaWorld with them, which was a lot of fun, and got to catch up with some old friends from Tomball, where I grew up in college.
Wait a minute. There's a SeaWorld in Texas?
SeaWorld San Antonio, season pass holder right here.
Did they have like the orca whales and the dolphins?
Yeah.
And everything?
They've got it all. They've got 3 or 4 roller coasters.
Is everything, though, are the whales, would you say, 30% bigger because this is Texas?
Sure. Yeah. I'll say that. Let's do it. So, yes, there's a SeaWorld, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's not like San Diego or Orlando's SeaWorlds.
Okay.
But they've made a lot of improvements. They put some cool new rides in, and it's a really good time. Emmy goes nuts for it. She gets to sit in her stroller and look at animals and drink what she calls special drink, which is anything that's not water or milk. So she gets an icy when we go and a bucket of popcorn. So it's a good time.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
So you went to SeaWorld San Antonio. That's cool. I didn't even know they had one there.
Yeah. We went to SeaWorld and we came back and had some friends over for a little cookout situation, and then we went over to our community pool where our house is and swam around for like an hour and a half. It was a sun-filled, exhausting Saturday, but it was great.
All right, let's back the story up. Cookout. What are you cooking? What was on the grill?
So I say cookout because here in Texas, it's if you're having a barbecue, you're having barbecue, and burgers and dogs are not barbecue.
Yeah, that's a cookout.
That's a cookout. So we had burgers and dogs. I got a new grill when we moved into our house, so it's been fun to get like a real large grill, because in apartment life, I kept it real small. Actually, my first year in the family, I got a little grill from
Chip, our father-in-law.
Our father-in-law, and so that's been our go-to. But now we've got a real grill, so it's nice. It's real hot, real fast, stainless steel.
Was it the little one that's got the fold-out wings and it's on a mobile stand so you can put it in your car?
Yes.
I got the same one. Yeah.
It's so good. Mine's blue, so I don't know.
I think mine's blue and cream colored, maybe. The lid's cream colored.
Interesting.
I got it the first year. I think it was the first Christmas that I was in the family as well. And I still have it in the backyard. I don't use it as much as I used to, but I still have it.
It works great. I mean, it's a nice one. It's Weber. I mean, it's good stuff. But it's been retired. It now sits in the garage and goes with us when we go to the beach. But yeah, had some burgers and hot dogs for the kids, and then we went out and swam around. It was fun. It was a good day. Good day to beat the heat.
Someone a little while ago was asking me what my favorite hot dog is, and I was like, obviously it's a Chicago hot dog. If I'm having a hot dog, that is.
Yeah.
And I had to explain what a Chicago dog is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've never had one, they're delicious. But the easiest way is to say it's like a hot dog that's been dragged through the garden, because you've got tomatoes on this thing. You've got sweet relish. You've got celery salt. It's got sport peppers. It's got mustard on it. It's got onions on it. Like, the thing is just chock full, but it is delicious. Now, I don't get those a lot because it's a lot of prep if I'm just making hot dogs for the family.
Yeah.
But if I'm really choosing, though, if I'm going hot dog, it's a Chicago dog. But if I have a choice, brat all the way every day. Brat and some mustard, maybe a little sauerkraut.
I'm all into the brats. I love going to Costco and or Sam's Club, and they always have different types of cased meats that I like to eat and try, and they're great. I'm into different flavors and kinds, and bacon cheddars and apple wood smoked whatevers. So
they do what is it? They have some sort of a sausage there that they sell that I will get those just specifically to put in my smoker, because like with the extra smoke, these sausages, I can't remember if they're like this applewood bacon cheddar. I think that's what they are.
Great.
And then you smoke them in there with, some more like applewood or whatever for like another like hour and a half. Ooh. Yeah.
That sounds
very
good.
good.
Very good, very good.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
So you had a good cookout. You had friends over.
Yeah, it was good. It's good to have people around. We haven't had a whole lot of people up at the house since we moved in, so it was fun to engage again and entertain really in our first house. So it was cool.
Nice.
It was fun. But that was our big event for the week.
How's your PlayStation treating you?
It's treating me well. It's collecting dust already, but I try to convince Emmy. I'm like, Emmy, don't you want to play Spider-Man? Don't you want to swing? And sometimes she's excited about it, and that takes about 45 seconds for her to get bored. And then we call Red Dead the horsey game. And so she likes to play the horsey game. I turn the volume down real low in case of the profanities these grizzly old men might use. Mm-hmm. But that's about the only time I got this week. It was a busy week. Chose to do other stuff, and I wish I had more time. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. I had to finish my Mario Maker course anyway. That's where my gaming time went. It took about an hour and finished that up. That was a couple days ago. But.
So here's a little bit of advice from a dad with, small kids. You have to find a game or two that the kids will engage in. Some of the best ones are like the Lego games, because they'll totally engage with those. And then we've been playing the Kingdom Hearts games.
Oh yeah,
because they get to see Disney characters with the Final Fantasy stuff, and occasionally I'll let Charlie go into like a room or two where I know just enemies will spawn, and if he dies, it's like I'm not going to lose progress.
Right.
And I'll let him fight some of the Heartless. And so that's kind of placated him somewhat.
Right.
But then like I'll give him the Joy-Cons and let him play Mario Kart on the Switch.
Yep.
So.
Yep. All she wants to play is Odyssey. It's all she cares about. And it's a bummer because I already put 70 hours into it and beat that game 100%. I have literally everything you can get.
Even all the Korok seeds?
No, that's not Zelda. Good grief. No, ain't nobody got time for that. I've put in well over 200 hours into that game, and I
still don't have them all. Yeah,
not my thing.
I think Odyssey. I'm probably right around you. Maybe it was like 70, 80 hours, something like that. And I beat the game. There's nothing left to do. But the boys, for the longest time, they're like, Daddy, let's play Mario Odyssey some more and go get some more stars. I'm like, there ain't no more stars we can get, son. That's done. We can go pop the balloons. I'm like, because that little balloon mode is fun.
It is fun.
But
then you get some jerks who make it impossible to find them, and you're But anyway,
I try to be one of those jerks if I can. Yeah.
You can't glitch it though.
No.
They're the worst.
Yeah. So.
The worst.
Man. So is that like your kind of week?
That was pretty much.
Nutshell?
That was pretty much the week. I mean, I'm trying to think if anything else of note took place, and the answer to that is no. So that was my week.
You do have some free time coming up, though.
I do. Yeah. Jesse's going out of town. Going up to Montana. She'll see you up there, you and your family, but old Matt's sticking around at home, working.
Yeah.
Working on playing video games.
There you go. So I was really torn on wanting to go up. part of the reason is that, I got to take time off of work and I've got to, be able to, make that happen. And we're getting ready to move offices. And we're going to be closing down technically 3 of our facilities, 2 offices and 1 like shop, and moving into one, very big facility with office space and shop space.
Yep.
And so I didn't know when that was going to happen, because originally it was going to be May, then it was going to be June, then it was going to be July. Currently it's scheduled for like the 3rd weekend in August. But I didn't know if that was going to be early August, and so I just kind of said, you guys plan the trip, and if I can make it, I can make it. If I can't, I can't.
Yeah.
My job is my job, and I can't, with something this big, I can't take time off if that's happening over that weekend. It turns out that the project got pushed back, a couple more weeks so I can make it. And then I talked with my HR lady, and then she talked with my manager, and my manager called me and says, listen, he says, you're the only guy that's doing IT out at your site, and you're on call basically. You take calls nights and weekends, and you put in a lot of extra hours. He says, so even though we don't have bereavement policy in your handbook for the company you're working for right now, he's like, our department's a little more relaxed. He's like, you get comp time. I'm going to give you this as bereavement time. He's like, well, you're going to end up working a few days over this, weekend. He's like, just keep note of it, keep track of it. So if you want to take a couple extra vacation days to kind of offset that, he's like, I'm totally cool with that. He's like, obviously don't abuse it. He's like,
that's nice.
But I don't want you or your family to get burnt out. He's like, we've lost too many good guys for that reason. Yeah. And so that was like really cool. I was really happy. So I get to take the time off to go up for this, funeral service, memorial service, and I don't have to burn paid time off. I'm going to get paid as bereavement leave.
Yeah, that's nice. Those are the advantages of
working for someone else.
For someone else, you do get that opportunity. Not that I can work from anywhere. Obviously, the issue is we just spent all of our money.
Right.
And so getting Jesse and Emmy there was.
You did just buy a house. You do have a baby on the way.
Yeah, it did cost a little bit of monies. I love Sydney, and we kept looking for tickets as the time has gone on and drawn closer to see if there was a possibility of me getting out there. And of course, they just go up more and more and more the closer and closer you get. So,
see, you said something there that I can't agree with. You said I love Sydney. I love my in-laws. I don't love Sydney. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I get it.
And honestly, and this is also partially my fault, I almost exclusively only get up there around Christmas time during the winter, so I hate driving up there because it's always
that's awful.
Horrid, like winter whiteout conditions. And then when we get there, it's always like 40 below, so you can't go outside and do anything, and there's nothing to do outside anyway during the winter. So it's just like, I always feel like I'm just confined to the house and I'm trapped. And there's a reason why I am the official grocery getter around Christmas. Anytime anyone needs anything, I'm like, yep, I got the keys. Car's already warm. I'm like, I'm out.
Yep.
And I will make like 6 trips in a day to like the one of 2 grocery stores, little grocery stores in town for like milk, or we needed an extra stick of butter, or it's just like, I just need to do stuff, and we're all confined and everyone's there. There's like 40 people in the house and everyone's on top of everyone, and there's no room to breathe and think and pee in peace.
I understand. I get it.
Yeah.
For me, I love it because I get to get away from, I live in a big, busy city. I always have. It's nice to go to Sydney and just kind of enjoy it. And my kind of vacation is going to Sydney because I don't have to do anything, because there's nothing really to go do other than go to the furniture store, right? Furniture and hardware store. That's like the big event, or go to like Mucho C and have Mexican food, or their version of it in Sydney, Montana. That's my kind of thing. I was talking to Jesse about this. We just had my brother come in, and they want to do stuff. They want to go here. There's always something on the schedule, and I get that too. But like, man, I like those vacations in Sydney because I could just do nothing. I can just be on the couch and talk to people, and I just like that.
about day 3 is when that wears thin for me. I'm like, all right, I got to do something. Which is also, Matt, if you recall, there's a reason why I sometimes sequester myself down in the bedroom. Is because I bring a laptop or bring a monitor and my PS4 with me,
right.
and I go play video games. It's like, okay. I'm like, I just need to go do something. I'm going to go play video. They're like, do you want to come watch Newsies with us? I'm like,
oh, good gosh,
no.
I remember that.
No,
that was a
I've
hard
seen
pass
that movie.
For me, too.
Yeah, I was like, I saw that movie a long time ago, and then every girl I knew in college wanted to watch it for like date nights. So, no.
Yeah, hard pass on that. But
yeah.
Anyway, I do wish I was going. Obviously, if I could
You'll be
go,
missed.
We'd be there, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's too bad. But
so
next summer.
So for me, that leads into what I'm doing is that, you know, I'm working like 2.5-ish days this week, and then I'm going to be getting the family in the car, and we're going to be driving up to Montana, which is nice because during the summer we get to drive right on kind of like along the outskirts of Yellowstone National Park. So it's some beautiful scenery. We don't actually go through the park, even though that probably would cut off a little bit more time if you could keep to the speed limit. The problem is you can't. It slows down. Buffalo will cross the road and everyone stops, and it just, you know, it doesn't work out very well. So we kind of skirt the outside of the park. But it's a beautiful, beautiful area. So I do get to see that, and it's been years since I've made that drive because we don't go that way during the winter because those roads are nothing but ice.
No.
So I'm doing that this week, which does mean that I won't be streaming on Twitch, which kind of has me sad because I've been streaming Tuesdays through Friday nights between like 8 and midnight. And I've been doing the streaming and I've been enjoying it. People have been stopping in and dropping by and talking and chatting. And I've made about $3 now.
Oh,
so, you
man.
know, I'm just, you know, big time. Look out here.
Golly.
But mostly I'm just having fun. I'm having fun playing video games
Yep.
and talking with people that stop by. So I'm not going to get to do that. I tried to like do the mental hurdles to figure out, okay, if I bring my PS4 and I set this up, I could do this technically this way, and and then I just went, you know what? We're only going to be there for like 2.5 days. Let's just not do that. You know, I'll bring my Switch so I have something to do in the evenings when kind of everything settles down, but I don't want to bring a bunch of stuff. This isn't like Christmas where I'm going to be there for like 9 days.
Right.
That's a must. At Christmas, it's a must, but yeah, 2.5 days, no.
Yeah.
So that's going on. Gosh, man, like the boys are still doing swimming lessons. We did that tonight, and Jackson actually progressed some more. He was able to swim just a little bit, not for very long, but he swam just a little bit on his own from kind of like this area of the pool to the side of the pool, and he's kind of getting it. Charlie was throwing kind of a fit because we had them in the lap pool, which is about 3.5 feet deep compared to the shallow, like little kiddie area.
Yeah.
Because they haven't been progressing much lately over there because they know they can touch. So when they get nervous and they don't want to do it anymore, they just put their foot down.
Right.
So we moved them over to the little deeper water, and Charlie cried a lot during swim lessons tonight.
Children.
Yeah, he was just kind of struggling, but Jackson was doing good. So
that's great.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. He just kind of grit and bear it, and then I try to find ways to trick them into like forgetting that they're not happy about it. I'm like, hey, I didn't get to see that. Can you do that again?
Yep.
So I can watch you? I'll try to take a picture this time. And, if you come to me, I'll go get you some Legos, which means we go to the dollar store and buy the like cheap knockoff Legos, which they don't know. They love them.
Yeah.
So we did some of that tonight. I'm almost done with Spider-Man, Matt.
Oh, wow.
And here's the thing. Now, when I say almost done, I'm almost done with the main campaign.
Right, of course.
There's still DLC. There's still all the collectibles I need to do for the 100% and the Platinum Trophy. Mm-hmm. But I got to a point when I was streaming, maybe middle of my stream Friday night, where I got to a point where all of a sudden it was like, hey, if you go on from here, you can't upgrade any of your stuff any further until after you beat the game. I went, ooh, wait a minute. This is usually like you get that warning when you're ready to start entering like the final home
boss
stretch.
Town.
Yeah. So I'm now contemplating like, do I just kind of grind out some more of these other little things so I can upgrade some stuff just in case I'm going to need it?
Right.
Or do I just go and finish it, because then I'm going to go back and, do all the collectibles and fight more and stuff anyway, so I can, unlock all the suits and all the mods and everything. So, so I'm still going to be playing Spider-Man for a while, obviously, and streaming that, but I am starting to think about, like, what's going to be my next game.
Yeah.
Am I going to switch up and go with, like, a Lego game? Am I going to go with something like The Witcher, which I own, and with the new series that's going to be coming out on Netflix, I kind of want to be in that world some. I've got Detroit Become Human. Do I want to do that? I've got Red Dead Redemption 2. I could be doing that. So, yeah, I've got some choices to make. So we'll have to see what happens. Oof. But that's kind of been my week. It's just been doing some things. Something else I finished this week we'll talk about a little bit later on. And then I've been also watching some comedians in cars getting coffee on Netflix.
Same here, totally. I burned through 5 starting at midnight, and all of a sudden it was like 1:45. I was like, oh, crap. Yep.
Brita and I always start these together, and then I just kind of keep watching.
Yeah.
And then she's like, hey. I was like, oh, I'll go back and rewatch.
Sorry. Yeah.
I was like, you were asleep. I couldn't sleep. I was laughing. I wanted to continue this for another 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, what do you say? Should we kill some Bothans and get to that good old rebel intelligence?
Let's do it.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Bothans have been slaughtered en masse. There's a pile of bloody Bothan bodies in front of me. Matt, what do you have for Rebel Intelligence this week?
I have some information regarding the Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
I have not personally experienced this issue. However, this has obviously become a massive problem, and it has to do with the Joy-Con controllers.
Oh, yeah.
That they're drifting.
Yep.
Without you doing anything, they kind of just drift.
Yep.
Which is a major problem. I don't know how many of you have a Switch, but there's a whole lot of technology packed into these little teeny tiny controllers. One of them is the little gyroscope and stuff, and anyway, it's drifting. So actually it's so bad that Nintendo is facing a class action lawsuit.
Really?
Regarding this. Now, since this article came out, or since the legalese has taken place and started going through the works. This is about a week ago, so Nintendo has responded. And at first they responded with a non-answer, which was, hey, we know it's a problem. Go to Nintendo.com. And that's about it. And then just about a day or two ago, sometime over the weekend, they said, we will fix any of your broken Joy-Cons for free. And we'll replace them.
I mean, that's fair.
I mean, that's all they can do, I think. I mean, there's nothing else they can... How do you remedy the situation other than offering people free fixes? So, they recognize its problem. I don't foresee this going any further. But Nintendo has answered as best that they can to get this fixed and customers happy again. But again, I haven't experienced this problem.
So, I didn't have that problem. When I originally bought my Switch, the dock scratched the screen up a bunch. Mm-hmm. And so I got that replaced. And then while that was being replaced, I actually went on Etsy and bought a little dock cover.
Yep.
So I've got a little felt thing that I kind of put over. It's got Legend of Zelda, kind of stained glass window thing. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to be safe.
Yep.
Which is nice. It helped. But I did know that originally they had a problem with the left Joy-Con desyncing a lot.
Yeah, I had that.
I had that too, and they took care of that.
Yep.
But now they're having this issue with the left Joy-Con drifting.
Yep.
So it seems to me like there's problems in Denmark when it comes to that left Joy-Con.
Yes, there's something wrong with that one. Not sure why just the left. But there's something going on there, and hopefully they can kind of get it pinned down. Again, it hasn't caused any issues for me since they kind of did the desyncing issue. So they did a software update, and that fixed it for me at least, and I followed their procedures, but haven't had any issues since then.
Yeah, I know that I know that in the past, like when I had the screen scratch issue, I called in and there wasn't like pushback, but they're like, okay, what happened? What did you do?
Right.
Normally this wouldn't happen. And I was like, yes, it doesn't happen, but look online everywhere. Like there's like a 5%, rate of this happening, which is above unacceptable. If it was like 1%, like it would be very small potatoes.
Sure.
Well, like this is 5%, and they weren't necessarily pushing back, but they wanted to make sure. And then when they got it and I was sent the pictures, they're like, oh yeah, okay, fine, send it back. And so I heard that on this like Joy-Con drift issue that Nintendo specifically said like, don't push back. If someone says like, hey, my left Joy-Con's drifting, just immediately say, here's the shipping information.
Yep.
Send it to us on us, and like let's just get you taken care of.
Yep. I mean, why would you fight it when you're making a killing like they are in this thing? This isn't the Wii U where they're not making any money. I mean, they're rolling in cash right now. So,
and I gotta say, when I sent mine in for the screen scratch issue, I gotta say, like, I felt like it was just a little over a week. It was like maybe like 9 days from the time I sent it in and I got it back, because it just went to California.
Yeah.
So from here in Utah, it took maybe a day and a half, and it was in California, and then it probably took them, by the time they got to it and then actually did the work, it probably only took them like less than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But they had it, everything tested, whatnot, and sent it back in less than probably a week. So with travel, I think it was like maybe like 9 days. Like that's a pretty quick turnaround versus like some things you're like, hey, I got a problem. They're like, okay, send it in. It'll be 6 to 8 weeks. You're like, you got to be kidding me. 6 to 8.
Yep.
So, okay. So Matt, I got something here for you, which I found to be very, very interesting.
Oh, good. Tell me more.
So we talked a little bit in the past about how Amazon is doing this Lord of the Rings series that's basically going to be about the Second Age, all the things that are going to involve, Sauron and forging of the rings of power and the One Ring, and all kind of that, and all the stuff we kind of got some back history of.
Right.
So we know Amazon's doing this. We also know that Amazon is going to want to make this thing as big as they possibly can. We haven't heard any announcements yet of actors, but what I thought was really funny is that they released a trailer showing off the creative staff behind the new series.
Ooh, a trailer.
And Amazon, tweeted it out, and they said, meet our fellowship. So of course they're trying to, kind of piggyback on, Fellowship of the Ring. And so you're like, okay, yeah. And I mean, it is an impressive staff. I mean, showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, joined by writers Jennifer Hutchinson, who did Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, Helen Shang from Hannibal, like a lot of other producers, consultants, people that have worked on stuff like *Halt and Catch Fire*, *Sopranos*, *Star Wars: The Last Jedi*, and then of course people that worked on the original *Lord of the Rings* trilogy. So it's interesting of note that they're trying to highlight now the creative staff behind it, even though they haven't, released any actors or actresses that officially signed on. I mean, we know some people have stated they'd like to.
Right.
Is this trying to keep up the hype and the pressure a little too early, in your opinion?
It feels like it's been such a long time since they said anything about it. I feel like, for me, I'd almost forgotten that it was even a thing, because it's been so long since they paid like $1 gajillion to buy the rights to be able to do this.
Right.
So, I mean, it makes sense that they would try to hype it up. A trailer seems silly. I haven't seen the trailer. I did see that they announced the staff, but I didn't. Made a cute little video. I don't know that it's too early. It's a good question. I think they're trying to make sure people haven't forgotten, maybe, because I'd almost forgotten and started to not care too much because it was not even in my, in my view at all. Now it's back in my view, and I remember them making it, and Amazon's back in my view because Amazon's taken a back burner for me too with all the other content that I can watch.
So then maybe this was a good calculated move on their part.
I think so. I mean, I don't know if it's good or bad. Honestly, I'm a casual type of fan as it pertains to like writers and directors. You could say all those names and it wouldn't mean a freaking thing to me until you attach movies to it, right? And you tell me what they did in that movie or that TV show, and then I'm like, okay, they were a writer on a show that I thought was good.
Like back in the day, if I would have said, "Hey, there's this new show coming out called Lost, and it's being written by J.J. Abrams, who also wrote Alias," you may not have been like super in the know, but like
don't care.
Now, if I say J.J. Abrams, it's like Star Trek, Star Wars,
Where can I buy
Lost.
a ticket?
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, immediately with, some of the big ones I think we all can get excited about, but these ones I just didn't really know.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair enough. I did look up some of the credentials and see some of the past work, and so I'm not going to be like hype train, because of the creative staff. But it does make me a little more assured that Amazon didn't just pay a grundle of money just to secure the intellectual property, but that they're going to try to make sure it's a quality product they're putting out. So.
Yep, I think that's a concern, because that trilogy, at least in this Shaw house, is an important part of our lives.
Yes, it is, as well in the Stapleton household.
Very much so, yeah.
I tried convincing Brita, like, you know how you can get the, like the vinyl stuff, that you can put on walls, like sayings and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we did some of that when Charlie was born. We had a vinyl saying says, "I'm a Jedi like my father before me," and it said Luke Skywalker under it. And he has a little crib, and there was the lightsaber, lights and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
I tried convincing Brita that in our hear me out on this, in our house, in our front room,
oh boy,
that we should paint it kind of like a tan color, and we should get a projector and project onto the wall the map of Middle Earth, and we should sketch it out in pencil and then come back and like hand paint it. So like it would be this like beautiful hand painted map of Middle Earth. And she was like, "I like that, but I don't know if that would be the right room, and I don't know if we have any other room that it would be right for." And I was like, "I need a house with a theater room. I have a plan."
So she said no.
She said no only because logistically it wasn't going to work out right.
Right.
If logistically we had a decent enough wall, I think she was going to let me go for it.
Hey, more power to you.
But seriously, like, what would that be like? "Hi, we're new neighbors. What the heck is on your wall? Did your kids color?" Like, no, that's the map of Middle Earth. Nerd. Yeah, never mind. And then turn around and walk out.
Yeah, might be a little much for a front room. I can understand that.
It's kind of like the people that paint their front door blue and make it a TARDIS, which also I think would be kind of cool to do.
Of course.
Just saying. Anyway.
Oh, goodness. All right, well, I've got some news. We're going to call this the Disney news segment. First of all, Disney has earned $7.6 billion at the box office worldwide so far in 2019.
Wow.
So that's a ton of money. You know what the previous record was for a full year? It was $7.61 billion, held by Disney in 2016. So, through July of 2019, Disney has already beat the record for a full year at the box office. And they have, get this, so they've got some great movies come out, right? And Lion King's still making money.
Yeah.
They've got Frozen 2.
Okay.
A sequel to Maleficent. And The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, Star Wars.
Just this year. They are going to absolutely shatter the previous record. I mean, they've already beaten it, but it just blows my mind. Like, Disney is king. I mean, everyone else is just living in Disney's world.
Oh, I mean, who's going to break that record?
Disney.
If it was someone other than Disney, like, who could break that? And, like, and what properties would you have to be, like, coming strong with in order to do that?
It's ridiculous. I mean, how could you? I can't think of a single property that has you think of all the best ones are the ones that are most
Yeah.
popular. And you're like, no, that's Disney. Ah, that's Disney too. That's Disney now. It's
I mean,
crazy.
you'd have to have some sort of like trifecta of like a new Fast and the Furious movie, a new Transformers movie, and like some sort of like new, oh gosh, like I was
Lord
gonna
of
say,
the Rings. There you go.
yeah, like
Something like that.
a new Lord of the Rings movie, all at the same time,
Right.
or within short
All the
span of
same
each other.
company and throw in Harry Potter, why don't you? And hope it
Yeah.
all works out for you.
There you go, Harry Potter, year 9 or something, whatever.
I'd watch it.
If they were to come out with a Harry Potter movie that was a continuation with Harry and Ron and Hermione, like, so you know how they've got that play in London that they ended up kind of writing into a book, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Yeah. If they were to make that into a movie, I've never read the book. We have it. I haven't read it yet.
Right.
But if it has anything with Harry and Ron and Hermione and all them kind of in it, at least in some form or another, I think that could make some serious money, or some way of like, I don't know. I hate to say this because I had a conversation with my mom about this kind of idea this weekend. We recast and we redo everything.
Right.
So at some point, are we going to be redoing Harry Potter like 20 years from now?
Right.
And if so,
that'd be weird.
Would that reshatter? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. You have to be careful with the Harry Potter franchise. I think J.K. Rowling is finally learning that with how much the Crimes of Grindelwald absolutely bombed. They're taking like a 3-year break now. I mean, they've said, we're taking a step back and we're rewriting the entire script.
Good.
And I said, thank you, because Crimes of Grindelwald was so boring and so slow. I bought it day one because it's anything to do with Harry Potter or Wizarding World I'm interested in. But I haven't watched it. I bought it. I haven't watched it.
Yeah. Rita hasn't seen it yet either. I saw it in the theater and I came back and she's like, how was it? I went, well. And she's like, really? I'm like, I mean,
Yeah. That's a whole different thing. But here's some sad news. Some sad Disney news. Okay. Russi Taylor, voice of Minnie Mouse for over 30 years, passed away at the age of 75 this week.
Oh, that's too bad.
We send our condolences to their family, to the Disney company. Some sad times.
So she did the voice for 30 years?
Yep, for more than 30 years, they worked together, entertaining millions around the world. That's what Bob Iger said.
I wonder if they've got someone new already lined up, because I know like there's been a couple people that have done like Mickey and Goofy.
Yep.
And so like I kind of know, like I think Bill Farmer is the current voice of Goofy, and I don't remember who I know Donald's using someone other than the original. Like Donald's gone through 2 or 3 also, and same thing with Mickey. But I wonder if they start getting to a point where they have, because I think someone was telling me like the current Donald Duck voice like did a bunch of training with like the outgoing Donald Duck. And so I wonder if Russi Taylor had been knowing that she was, getting
75.
sick and she was 75. Like I wonder if like she'd been kind of working with someone, with some sort of voice actor, and helping kind of train that person and coach. So because I know they're still making like Mickey and the Roadster Racer cartoons and these Mickey mini shorts and all sorts of stuff.
Right.
And you got to have plans to move forward, man, especially with that Disney Plus coming out later this year.
Yep, gotta.
Yep. Well, that's too bad. So let's go to something a little happier, Matt. Something I've got for you.
Excellent.
And then I'm gonna read this, and then I'm gonna ask you a question, because this is kind of interesting to me. So this just like towards the end of last week, Netflix announced in India, India.
Great, love it. Great country.
That it's rolling out a new, cheaper plan for their service. Okay. It only will be in standard definition for mobile devices, which apparently is how a lot of India actually watches Netflix, but it's the equivalent of $3 a month US.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh.
$3 a month.
Wow.
So let me ask you this. Do you think if Netflix were to come out with like a cheap plan like this that's only for mobile, so like you could use it like on your cell phone or like a tablet,
Right.
and they brought it out in the US market. Do you think, because right now Netflix has been losing subscribers,
Yes.
there's, we're getting to a place where the market's fracturing more. It just used to be really like Netflix was the big player. Then it was kind of like Netflix and Hulu. Now you've got Amazon that's in there as well.
Right.
And now you've got like CBS All Access and Disney Plus and NBC is going to be doing their own thing. And like
Yep.
ESPN's got something. Like pretty soon everyone's going to have something going on, right?
Yep.
So do you think a $3 mobile only plan, if brought to the US, would be something that would help recapture some of that market or entice people who maybe only watch it like on tablets or mobile?
This is a really great question. I don't have the information necessary to make a quality judgment. My gut says,
Would you do it?
Oh,
I guess let's start
not.
there.
No. For me, that's a hard pass. I am a quality Nazi and will only do the best quality that I can get.
So they do have an HD and an Ultra HD for streaming for the mobiles, but they're more expensive. So like you could upgrade it some.
I do 90% of my watching on a TV for
Yep.
Netflix. That's just the way that we watch Netflix, because I watch it with my wife. I don't
Okay.
usually watch Netflix alone unless I'm in bed. Then I'm watching it on my iPad. But
Yeah.
but that's really the only time that I do that, and I do that a lot actually too. Anyway, neither here nor there.
Right.
I don't know. I would not. I wouldn't buy that plan. I don't know how many would, because I think a lot of people, including myself, splits their Netflix, so you're not actually paying the full amount anyway. So my mom and dad, they piggyback off of mine, and then they just Venmo me each month. And for a lot of my friends, I know that's how they do it as well. You can get a whole bunch of accounts, and now you can have up to like 4 or 5 screens watching at once.
Yeah.
I don't know that would be super successful here because, I mean, maybe actually. Gosh, that's tough. All I know is I wouldn't get it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think for me, it's the quality. Like we watch it. We have Netflix on our upstairs and our downstairs TV. And then I used to watch it, I'd say more on my cell phone, but I just don't much anymore. I don't find myself in a place where I'm somewhere where I need to watch something.
Mm-hmm.
But I do watch it on my tablet. I've got a Galaxy Tab A, and like sometimes I'll watch that at night, especially like if Breida's gone to bed. If I'm not asleep yet and I don't want to have the full TV in our bedroom on because it's too bright.
Yeah.
Then I'll turn that on. When we went on the cruise, I downloaded a bunch of stuff to the tablet because I was like, I don't want to watch just the Disney stuff on the TV. So I watched some stuff, some comedy specials and stuff that way as well. So I don't know if that I would, because I like the higher quality. But it is interesting that like in places like India and in parts of Asia, like most of the country watches it mobile only. And so they're coming out with this newer plan. I'm curious if they're going to test something like this here in India and then say like, well, now we'll offer this and see how it goes, because it's not going to cost them much extra to offer that everywhere else.
Right. And I think that somebody like you and me is probably in the minority as it pertains to having to have the best quality. I certainly don't know that most people need to have the best quality. And I would say most people probably don't even sign up for the highest quality plan on Netflix. I don't know that they know that you can get a 4K HDR, plan.
I don't sign up for that one because I don't have a 4K TV.
Oh, I do. That's why I use it.
I've got like the high def that's like one step less than that, just because I don't have a 4K TV.
Right. I mean, I have to watch, when we watch Stranger Things in Dolby Vision in that beautiful 4K HDR. Oh my gosh, it is just a sight to behold. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I wonder if it has a link to like just income levels in India, right? Poverty levels. People have access to
maybe
phones more than they do like actual large screens, televisions, even laptops. I know very little about India other than their food is delicious. So I don't know. I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. It'll be interesting to see if it comes to the U.S.
They're dying, though.
I mean, Netflix is going to be around, but
Yep.
they're just not going to be the king. They're not going to have the market share that they used to. I mean, Disney Plus, I think, is really going to hurt Netflix. I really do.
Yep.
Some of the others, like CBS All Access, that doesn't hurt Netflix.
No.
Hulu, even, because they do a lot of different things, isn't really going to hurt it that
not
much.
in competition, yeah. I mean, it's just so different.
But Disney Plus, I think that's going to hurt.
It's going to hurt a lot. Their stock is going to continue to go down.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It's already
that was the last thing I had. Did you have anything else?
That's all I got.
Okay. So let's go to our question of the week. Last week we had a great conversation. We talked about Comic-Con and a lot of the big announcements. And so the question that I asked was, what was an announcement? It, didn't have to be any specific one per se. Like I wasn't trying to, pin anyone in, but say like, did you have any announcements that you really looked forward to the most? We got a few answers. So let's go over to email like we always do. And we'll start there, fortofnerd@gmail.com. Peter Christensen says, Dear Nerds, there was indeed applause at Matt's co-hosting announcement. He says, my kids have gotten into Community, especially the theme episodes, pillow fights, claymation, Halloween specials,
Yes!
and yes, the Dungeons & Dragons episode gets played frequently. It's pure gold to see Shirley appalled at Chang's black-faced dark elf. Or how angry Jeff the Liar gets when Brita is fighting for civil rights for gnome waiters. So good. I love that episode so much.
Oh my gosh. The way Pierce has that Snickers bar.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
taunting.
Taunting Fat Neil, yes. He says, Spencer, I'm glad you didn't read my spoiler post, but you've got to at least compliment how insightful the comments are. It is true. Peter did put a lot of thought into those. I really wish I could have read them. It says, my favorite announcement at Comic-Con was Top Gun Maverick.
Yes.
The trailer looks great.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is the human incarnation of the MCU's reliable movie fun, and I'm a big fan of the director Joseph Kosinski. He did Only the Brave, Tron Legacy, and Oblivion, an overlooked but awesome sci-fi movie also with Tom Cruise.
Yes.
Cheers, Peter Christensen. I liked Oblivion quite a lot.
I was confused by Oblivion, but entertained. I'm a simple man.
I really did enjoy that. I do like how he compares Tom Cruise as the human incarnation of the MCU. Reliable movie. It's going to be fun. You kind of know what to expect. Because that is kind of the way his career is now. I mean, he hasn't done anything that I would say is like dramatically or drastically out of that kind of like Tom Cruise. Like, I'm going to play it safe and make a lot of money doing it.
And I love him for it.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff there, Peter. Love it. Top Gun Maverick. Okay, going over to Facebook, which is facebook.com/FortofNerd. I've got Caleb Albers. He says, I think it goes without saying for me, my favorite part of this year's Comic-Con was the Marvel Phase 4 panel. I'm a Marvel diehard fanboy and loved every second of this panel. The only thing I'm worried about is that they may be releasing too much too quick. I don't believe in hero fatigue, as I've stated multiple times on the show, but I know the rest of the world may not agree with me. So I'm worried that Marvel is giving us too much in 2 years. Like the WandaVision show is set to release in spring of 2020, and it's supposed to tie into Doctor Strange 2, which comes out in May. So my guess is that it's going to get released late February, early March, and to me that doesn't seem like enough time for the masses to watch everything. I mean, I will, but that's just me. He says, side note, Krypton, which is, my motorcycle club name. He says, fear not about the What If show. That whole show is based off the What If comics series, where it answers the questions of what would happen if something else went on during the comics. For example, what if Captain America didn't get frozen? Supposedly, the first What If show we may get is what if Peggy Carter became Captain America, with Haley Atwell returning to voice Peggy. All MCU actors are returning to voice their characters in whatever What If they are in. And this one is going to be animated, so I'm super pumped for all of that. So, good stuff.
I'm stoked for What If, too.
He also did clarify that the Hawkeye series is not going to be animated. I think I was under the impression that it was going to be animated.
Oh, good.
and he says it's not going to be
Wow,
animated.
okay. So it's a 180 of excitement level for me now.
Yeah.
Hype train 10.
Woot woot!
Now
Get on board.
Yep, I'm driving.
Thank you, Caleb. Appreciate your answer. Let's go over to the old Twitter. So we've got network-newbie at dspin67. This is our good friend Derek. He says, Marvel lineup, especially the streaming service shows. I like the diversity of it. That is kind of true. We are getting a different lineup. I mean, you look at kind of like the Marvel Netflix shows. There was some diversity, but I mean, it kind of all seemed very in the same vein. Like this Shang-Chi, Legend of the Ten Rings, thing that's going to be out there as far as that. And then like there's the Loki, there's the What If, there's the WandaVision, the Winter Soldier and Falcon. I mean, there's a lot of different things. So,
agreed.
I'm liking it.
Yeah.
Bernabe Butterteeth at Dantes_Belmont says, Westworld Season 3 trailer.
Oh.
He says, that's my favorite non-Marvel or comic related.
Huh.
So, I've yet to watch Westworld.
Yeah, same here.
I've heard good things. I just
Also
have yet to watch it. So, anyway, thank you so much for your answers. We really appreciate it. Every week you can answer our question of the week. We're Twitter at Fort of Nerd. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/Fort of Nerd, and email fortofnerd@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram, Fort of Nerd. And if you want, we do have a voicemail number you can call in. That's 801-477-7687. And we tend to play those too when we get those. So, Matt, Super Friends are out there. They're listening to us week after week. How can they help us out this week? Is there anything they could do for us?
Of course, y'all know the drill. Head on over to iTunes, subscribe, and leave a review. The lifeblood. Just like in Amazon. I work in it every day. The lifeblood of Amazon is reviews. The lifeblood of the podcast. Reviews.
I wrote a really great review of something.
Yeah.
A little while ago. I was trying to think what it was. I bought something and like it didn't have very many reviews, and so I wrote one of these reviews as like, if you need your life turned around,
yes,
if you want to be a real man and you want to impress your significant other, you need this product. Yeah. It'll change your life. It'll make you. It was something to do with like barbecue. It was butcher paper. It was butcher paper that I wrote, and it was it's like you want to take your barbecue to the next level. This is what you need. You want to impress your friends and your neighbors. You want to make your friends' wives look at you a little differently. This is what you need. And it was just like, I really just tried to ham it up a bit. But I was like, someone's going to read it. They're going to laugh. They're going to think it's good. And then they're going to be like, okay, I'll get this pink butcher paper over this other brand.
There you go. The lifeblood.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'd kind of forgotten I'd done that. That was kind of a lot of fun. All right, Matt, so I want to talk about this thing on Netflix, this thing that I've been dying to talk about, but it's taken me a little while to finish due to a lot of unforeseen events.
Yes.
Stranger Things Season 3.
Whoop, whoop.
I was in love with the first season of Stranger Things. Mm-hmm. My love deepened in the second season. Mm-hmm. And by the third season, like, I'm full on having an affair with this thing. Like, it is on and popping.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about Stranger Things Season 3. This picks up what? This is maybe a year,
I think.
Maybe year and a half after the events of Season 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some obvious changes, right? I mean, the cast, these kids are growing up. They look older.
Yeah.
I saw... Gosh, what was it? I saw like some sort of like flashback or some sort of like little news article on what they look like in Season 1.
They're little babies.
They look so young.
I know.
They're so fresh-faced. I mean, they still are young. Don't get me wrong. But it's just, oh man, going back, you're like, ooh, they were young.
Yeah.
So this new season, it's like 1985. Which was kind of great because they had a whole bunch of like pop references that all kind of like made sense for like 1985. And before we go on, let's just say we're gonna talk spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, just FYI, we're gonna talk spoilers. So anyway, 1985, one of the best, like, funniest things that I thought was, like, great product placement and also, like, reminding America about something that happened in 1985 was New Coke, which, Matt, you probably weren't even born and around for that.
I was not.
I was 6. I wasn't drinking Coke at the time. But basically, this boiled down to the CEO of Coca-Cola decided that they were getting their butts kicked by Pepsi in blind taste tests because it was sweeter and people were picking Pepsi. So they decided to tamper with the formula and make it less acidic, make it sweeter, and start doing taste tests, and it was outperforming both Pepsi and Coke. So they decided then to rebrand it, as they pushed out and called it, they called it New Coke because they just kept the name Coke. And so people were referring to it as New Coke versus Old Coke. And at the time, there was also this whole thing going on where they pushed it out so fast they didn't have a lot of new bottles made yet, because there's a lot of glass bottles still back in the time, or new cans. Mm-hmm. And so they literally were putting stickers on it that said like new or new formula on the existing cans and whatnot. And it's going to go down as probably one of the worst marketing decisions ever, because even though it did okay in taste tests and was doing well, people, especially in the South, felt like the Coca-Cola company was messing with their heritage, with, what they'd grown up with, and they were super attached to the nostalgia of the Coca-Cola brand, and people stopped drinking it, sales plummeted, everyone was demanding, like there was like lobbyist groups and whatnot demanding that the old Coca-Cola come back, which then they ended up coming back and rebranding as Coca-Cola Classic. New Coke did stay around for quite a long time. They didn't discontinue that till like 2002, but they started calling it like Coke 2 in the 90s or whatever. Anyway, it's a piece of Americana history. It's definitely a big test case that I remember studying in college in a marketing class. And I love the fact that like it happened in 1985. This is set in 1985. So they had New Coke like all over the place. They even had some like little discussion amongst the boys, talking about it. There was movie references. I mean, we saw, what was it? George Romero's Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
In this, we saw, what else? Back to the Future.
Yes.
Back to the Future was in this movie.
Yes.
There was all sorts of just like little things. For you, how much of the 80s setting, like, I'm guessing that this is going to impact me differently than you because I actually lived through the 80s. The 80s was like my childhood. Sure. But like, how much of like the setting of like the 1980s, like, how much does that like impact for you, like the show? Like, do you enjoy it? Do you like that it's a period piece that maybe you're not familiar with and you get to see things?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know anybody who doesn't love the 80s. I mean, it's a fun period of time. And when I look back, when I watched the show, I was born in 1988, so the tail end of the 80s. A lot of the stuff, maybe not all of it, but I would say most of the stuff obviously carries into the 90s. It's not like they just turn a page and it's over, right?
Sure, yeah,
Some of the toys, obviously the movies. I mean, those are all things that I can relate to, right? They didn't have cell phones in the 90s either, right? They didn't have these other ways to communicate. So there are certain aspects that I still attribute to being a kid. Being outside and playing, doing the things that they were doing, not having the same technology and computers and, Dustin finding a different way to talk to his girlfriend all the way across the country, and
ham radio.
I can relate to those things. But the 80s are, some of the great movies that I still cherish that I grew up watching, right? Those are still, important regardless, I guess, of when, I guess because I was so pushed up close to I was born in the 80s, but so pushed up close to those big movies that my parents were still watching them and we were still watching them and they were coming out on video and I was watching them at home. I didn't see them in the theaters, but, watching Back to the Future was an important part of being a kid, and the Star Wars films, which came out obviously in the late 70s, early 80s. What I find to be interesting as it pertains to this being a period piece is the Duffer Brothers weren't born until 1985.
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting to me that they pull these references out of the year that they were born. There's a lot of research that must go in. These guys, they know their stuff. I mean, the previous 2 seasons were about times before they were even a thought. It's interesting to me because Anyway, the Duffer Brothers are amazing. They're awesome. They have such a great eye for everything. And I love the 80s feel, the hair, the clothes. It's very fun to be transported to something familiar but different for me. It's great.
Right. I mean, one of the big things was the big set piece of the Starcourt Mall.
Yeah.
Which had a very much like 1980s mall feel to it. You know, it wasn't like the malls that you see today where it's, you know, a couple big stores and like, you know, a Hot Topic, a Spencer's Gift.
Yeah.
You know, Forever 21, you know, Abercrombie. It's not that, but it was Sam Goody and the Scoops Ahoy, and I saw like Hot Dog on a Stick and Orange Julius in the food court, and you know, just a bunch in the Gap. All things that like it definitely had a 1980s feel, and plus, man, that thing is packed, and there's an arcade in there, and just like it did remind me of like going to the mall when I was a kid, because everyone went to the mall.
Right.
It was where you would drive to go see all these stores in one place, and you know, you'd hang out, and you could just eat at the food court, and so I love that. I definitely felt like they really did a good job of nailing the feel of 1985. I mean, from things like you said, like the clothes, like the hair, like the mom. I'm thinking of the actress's name, but gosh, what's her name? The
Mrs. Wheeler?
Yeah, Mrs. Wheeler. Like, even the way like her hair was done and like the swimsuit she wore at the pool, like it very much has like that Jane Fonda, you know, workout, you know, kind of the leggings, you know, kind of feel.
That
and like
scene with the jazzercise?
Yes,
so
exactly.
Freaky. Awesome. Anyway, that was
like,
awesome.
All that stuff, like I thought they did a real good job of catching that feeling of nostalgia. But of course, like we said, the kids are growing up, but they also kind of tackled, even though the story kind of falls under the auspices of maybe some of the first, you know, couple seasons and kind of, you know, continues on in a way, but they also were telling some different stories, right? I mean, they're focusing on these kids, and they're focusing on like kind of a coming of age season, so to speak.
Especially in the first few episodes with Will's character in particular, right? Feeling left out. Nobody wants to play Dungeons and Dragons anymore. They want to hang out with their girlfriends, and there's some pretty rough scenes where Mike says, "It's not my fault you don't like girls." Yeah, and it's like, oh man, it's hard to grow up, man.
Yep. Well, that, and you also had like, you know, Mike and Elle, and they've got this, you know, relationship, this romance that's going on.
Obnoxious.
It's, you know, but it's kind of like what that is at that age.
Oh, absolutely. It's perfect.
And you've got also like Hopper, who's like, you know, this dad now who's trying to like deal with that and this, you know, growing situation. And you've also got Max, who's now like become real good friends with Elle. And she's given her like relationship advice, which also Caleb is giving Mike advice. And like these two boys have to be like the most inept boys possible, which makes me laugh because that's exactly how I was at that age.
Of course.
Like I didn't know crap about crap when, you know, it came to dating and whatnot. But you know, these boys are trying to figure it out. And so there's that. You've got the Dustin and his, you know, girlfriend Susie that he met at camp, and you know, him talking about her. And so just we got these relationships, you know, tossed in. We've got, you know, people dealing with, you know, new feelings and the loss of childhood, you know, because obviously that whole thing with Will wanting to play D&D, like that scene kind of hurt. It just kind of hurt to watch.
Yeah, it's sad.
Because it's like, he just still wants to be a kid.
Yep.
And part of his childhood was already taken from him.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, right? He missed out on like 3 years, really.
Yeah.
Just, it that was hard to watch, but it's relatable too. I remember the moment where it was almost like a choice at like 14 where I chose to grow up and to kind of, I don't know. I remember distinctly having that and looking at that moment going, man, I remember how tough that was to grow up.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's really hard. So it reminded me of that difficult time as well. So goodness gracious. It was
so good.
It was fantastic. So Spencer, tell me, season 3 of all the characters, who was your favorite during this season, and then who was your favorite newcomer of the season?
Gosh. The weird thing is that I've got to say my favorite is Steve the Hare Harrington.
Of course.
I just can't get enough of Steve.
I know.
Someone back between season 2 and season 3 kind of like super cut a bunch of Steve and Dustin to make it look like it was going to be some sort of like, buddy cop show just with the two of them. And I was like, please make this happen.
Uh-huh.
I really like Dustin a lot. I really, really do like Dustin a lot. But for some reason, the way they've written Steve, especially in the first season, kind of how he transports in the end of the first season, and then second season, and then the third season again, they've taken a character who could very easily be like the high school kind of jock that's lovable, but yet doesn't have much going for him and just kind of relying on that. They could play that stereotype up. Like, they could turn it up another notch to where it becomes annoying.
Right.
But they don't. They don't dial it up. They don't just, like, play the stereotype. And they just make it enough that you want to root for the guy. And he has these moments where you're like, yes, he finally gets it. And then he does something stupid. And you're like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
Like, just come on.
Yeah.
So I love that character.
Yep.
And I think that the actor that plays him is amazing and plays it really well.
Yeah.
So he's my continuing on character that I really enjoyed. But as far as like this season, I really enjoyed Robin.
Oh, okay.
The girl that he works alongside with.
Yeah.
Because she actually has something to do in this season. Mm-hmm. One of my criticisms of season 2 was that like Max, the new character that was introduced, her and her brother Billy.
Right.
I felt like Max didn't have a lot to do in that season, and obviously she played a bigger role this season. But I felt like Robin, as a newly introduced character in this season, had more to do.
Yep.
She was very instrumental in kind of moving the plot along, but then she also had these moments where she really had some great character development and growth, and really helped Steve's character have some great character development and growth.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something about her that I really, really enjoyed.
Yep.
So what about you? Like, what was your favorite recurring character and then favorite new character?
Sure. So, my favorite character, since I feel like the dawn of time, I feel like a dream of Joe Keery, who plays Steve Harrington. I just want to be with him all the time.
Yeah.
And so I'll pick somebody different, but know that in my heart of hearts,
it's Steve.
He's the background on my cell phone. I love Steve so much. But to go on a different path, my favorite character I'll say this season was Billy. I absolutely was just floored with what they did with him. Because I was nervous. Because in season 2, he's
a creep.
You hate him.
Yeah.
And then you kind of see the abusive father stuff, and you're like, okay, but you don't get enough of that to really care that much.
I still can't get over the cologne on the hand and then rubbing it on his balls.
Yeah,
I can't get over that in season 2. I was like, dude, no.
Yeah, he's a complete creep. But I loved what they did with him. I loved the progression of his. I mean, it wasn't even him, but how he played
evil
being
Billy,
possessed by the shadow monster, how he played that was, I was just, every scene he was in, I was excited because I knew something was going to go down and it was going to be crazy and it was going to be exciting. And my favorite part of the whole season, I think, was when 11 goes into his consciousness or whatever, right? And she sees the progression of his life, and it's beautiful, it's heartbreaking, it's perfectly shot. And you see his mom, and then you see what happens, and then the abuse, and how he can't let go, and that's why he's fighting. It's just, and this character at the end when he saves 11, and you see the redeeming portion of him. It just, I'm getting the chills just talking about it because Stranger Things means that much to me. But like, I couldn't help but just almost cry. It was beautiful. I thought he did a great job. It was my favorite character development of the season. I was so into it. But I could go on talking about Billy. But my favorite new character, I just love this guy, Alexi. I thought he was so great.
And very memeable.
Totally memeable.
I've seen a lot of Alexi memes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it was... I've gone back and I've watched some of his scenes just because I didn't catch him all the first time. His accent was so thick, but there are times when he tries to speak English and it's just great. When he's talking about Slurpees and... Anyway, I loved his character. At the beginning you don't know... You assume that he's at least somewhat evil, right? Right. But in reality, he just doesn't really know what's going on. He just wants to be a happy American and win a rigged game. And then he meets his unfortunate end.
Oh, that was sad. That was
really sad. But he was a great character. They did a great job. The actor was absolutely fantastic. The casting, I can't say enough about Stranger Things, what they do with their casting. It's just... I wouldn't recast anybody. It's perfect. Everybody does a perfect job, and we could go on and on about character development this season. Like Hopper, his character development was crazy good. It was fun. But those are my two. I think.
No, those are definitely good choices. Something else I noticed about this season a little bit more than in the past is that we had like a bunch of like kind of subplots all going at the same time, right? Yeah. So you got, Steve and Dustin and Robin that are all kind of like trying to crack this Russian code, which also is kind of this interesting subplot. We've got these Russians.
Cold War type thing going on too.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because, this is 85. This is still at the height of the Cold War. And so, you got Russians that are introduced as the bad guy, right? Yep. You've got Nancy and Jonathan that are kind of like, doing this, researching this project, this story for the paper they work at. Right. That like also like Nancy's just being like kind of made to do like, what's quote unquote at the time like woman's work in the field. Like she's not being actually given anything of, substance to do. Right. And then, Chief Hopper and Joyce Byers, they're like looking into this magnet issue and like what's going on there. And then, they run into the Russians and, Hopper gets his butt kicked a time or two. So they all kind of have like these like different kind of like stories that that they're all going to find a way to pull together and tie together at the end. Right. But what's really nice is that it felt like more of like a layered movie when you've got, these characters and that they're all going to come together at the end somehow. But it's kind of like the journey that gets them there is exciting, and the storytelling is really good because you cared about Nancy Byers trying to, find out what's going on in this story, and you want to know are Dustin and Steve and Robin, are they going to crack the Russian code? Right. You wanted to know whether or not what's her name? Mrs. Wheeler, if she's actually going to cheat on her husband with the lifeguard Billy. Like that part had me stressed. I was like, oh, I know. Don't do this. Like I know. This guy's a creep. Yep. And B, like even if like you look at him and he's like this, like hot like 18-year-old guy, like you're maybe in your like late 30s, maybe early 40s. You've got kids and a husband, and now admitted like her husband is probably like the most like like couch potatoey worst husband possible. Yeah. But like it's not like he's like giving her reasons.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Exactly.
He's not a bad guy. He's not doing drugs. He's not cheating on her.
He's
You know,
just
nothing like
him.
that they're giving. He's just boring.
Yeah. And it's just,
He's just boring.
yeah.
But that whole like she's contemplating it, and she even goes as far as like putting on some sort of like lingerie and like
Yep.
dress and like
Yep.
perfume, and then she like, you know, then sees like her husband and sees the kids, and she doesn't like,
Yeah.
okay, good. Like
Yep.
that had me stressed. That did have me stressed. But I did enjoy the more complex, rich storylines that were being told with a lot of different things this year, and also like the little subplots, like, you know, Dustin telling what's her name, Erica, that she's really a nerd because she's into My Little Ponies,
Right.
and she's
Yeah.
really good at math, and like helping her become aware like she's a nerd even though
Right.
she doesn't want to consider it. Like
Mhm.
that was good. I really liked that.
I also enjoyed I don't want to say fragmented because that makes it sound negative, but the way that they were all spread out, that there were so many different storylines to follow, and how good of a job they did of balancing them all. Because sometimes it can get away from you when you try to balance too many things. I think to Lord of the Rings, when I think of also another one that balances it all out so well, of fragmented stories, where there's all these different people on different quests, but we all know in the end they're all fighting for the same thing. And that's kind of what this season felt like to me. Everyone was off doing something different, but it was all going to lead toward this larger, you know, interesting Russian plot line. Oh my goodness. Now, you can't see this, but Spencer's wearing a fantastic Hawkins, Indiana shirt.
And we're in a Hawkins, Indiana shirt.
So
it kind
good.
of looks like E.T. a little bit.
We had a party here. After we'd watched the first 2 episodes, I had some people over, and we decorated the house, and we had little Three Musketeers that were scattered on the floor as if Dart had come through, and we had all these Egos and lifeguard stuff around. It was a lot of fun. But anyway.
Nice.
To your point, I completely agree. They did a great job with this. It felt much deeper, and it felt bigger. I mean, bringing the Russian thing in made this feel like way bigger. Because we were always so focused on Hawkins, and now it's funny when you go back and watch season 1, you're like, oh, just one Demogorgon. And
right.
Season 2, you're like, oh, like 500 Demodogs.
Yeah.
And then this season, it's like, holy crap, you know, this shadow monster that can...
It's controlled by the Mind Flayer,
It's absolutely amazing how they just made that feel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to explain other than it's just how it made you feel. And this season, what I appreciated, I don't love like super duper gory, but I do kind of like some gore. I loved how much more like gruesome this season was.
Yeah, they did amp it up a little bit. Brita had a hard time watching the people kind of like liquefy to become part of the monster.
It was
like,
mind blowing.
Yeah, that was a little hard for her. Something else I'll tell you I really, really enjoyed is that after Elle dumps Mike, because, you know, which, like, I kind of went like, okay, this is like, you know, kid, whatever.
Total teenager, yeah.
Yeah, but after she did that, like, it did give her an opportunity, like she's kind of become best friends with Max. It did give her an opportunity to, like, kind of, like, explore her new style and get out of the house, because she spent so much time in that, you know, cabin in the woods with Hopper, that she's like, you know, she's trying to find herself. And so it's kind of like a self-discovery of that character. And I really did enjoy that. Like, I thought that was interesting because, you know, it's a teenage girl and she's trying to figure out, okay, who is she now that she's not with Mike?
Yeah.
And her whole world doesn't revolve around, like, let's just hang out with Mike all the time.
Right.
And I like that.
No, I agree. I think all the characters really did take interesting steps forward. People in my family were bagging on Lucas, who's one of my favorite characters in the show. After they'd only watched one episode, like, Lucas doesn't do anything. Lucas just is there. I said, just wait. Just watch the season, and you'll see Lucas saves them like 4 times this season.
Yep.
He saves their freaking sorry rear ends. But his progression, too, it's just interesting how he's suddenly become this guru on love. It was just so funny, and he has no idea. But I think I still look back on the character development, the writing, and I always this season will always be the season of Billy for me. I just will.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about. I think it's just the way that Baker Montgomery plays him. It just... How about... Remember when he slammed Mrs. Wheeler against the locker? And everyone in the world was like, oh my fetching! And then they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Dream sequence. Oh,
or like
good.
the sauna test. That was some wild stuff.
Yes.
Then you got to see the Mind Flayer's power, and you saw, okay, Billy can't just be like, 11 can't just go save everybody. Which is another thing I liked about this season, because in seasons past, it's like 11 shows up and saves the day. She's got all the powers, and it's like Superman. If Superman walks in a room, like, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
With this one, I loved this season because it showed that her power has limitations, that it was drained, that they had to get creative, and they had to find a different way to solve the problem instead of just relying on 11 to save everybody.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too, that I really liked the fact that, like, at the end of the day, it was all of the kids working together to, like, win the day over, and it was Hopper and Joyce and whatever his name is, Morgan? No, not Morgan.
The crazy guy.
The crazy guy. Like, it was all of them working together solved it, because Elle didn't have the ability to save them all.
Right.
And she extended herself too much, and as a result of it, she just didn't have the ability to do it. And so, like, it came down to, like, fireworks and, blowing up the thing to close the rift so that the Mind Flayer couldn't control it, and, like, all these things. And I thought that was a real good moment to say, like, yes, we are telling a story about this girl who has all these supernatural abilities and powers, but at the end of the day, like, friendship and teamwork is the greatest superpower out there. I loved that. I thought that was great.
Yep. I agree. I was really pleased with how that happened, because it's like they know. The Duffers
it's different.
Know.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, if Elle would have saved him in the end, it still would have been a good ending, I'm sure. But I think this way was, story-wise, it's more satisfying.
Yes, and I think it's satisfying for us as viewers, but I think it's also smart for them as writers to have her powers limited. In that, for example, the end, right? I'm sure we'll talk about the end, about Hopper and what our thoughts are and what's going down with him, but she doesn't have her powers, so we can't know if he's alive, because she could, quote, find him.
Right.
With her powers, but they're drained. So it also is a clever way of leaving us with a cliffhanger that can be a true cliffhanger, where we can't just go, well, why didn't 11 just put her blindfold on and find him? Or why didn't 11 just do this? Those are taken away from us because she's crippled for the time. Yeah. So.
What did you think about the whole... Because we do have this really emotional kind of ending.
Yes.
And Elle does not have her abilities at the end. And she decides to go with the Byers, who decide to actually leave. And I think they were going to go to Chicago. They were going to go to Illinois somewhere. How did you feel about, like, the whole, like, kind of goodbye scene when they're kind of, like, going through the house and like saying goodbye, and, like, 'cause there were some emotional moments there.
That's a tough question. As far as what 11 decided to do, it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah,
you go with the Byers. That's easy. It was, for me, probably the most emotional I've been watching something in a decade. I mean, maybe when Luke Skywalker died in The Last Jedi, that might have been as emotional for me, but this one was, like, over the top. And when I'm talking about this one, I'm talking about the voiceover of Hopper reading the letter to 11, right?
I mean, that was rough.
I'm a man, and I was crying. I look over at Jessie, and she's almost heaving. Because we kept saying over and over, don't let Hopper die, don't let Hopper die. And then we see that there's no other way out of that situation. And then the culmination of events at the end with them leaving. That nod when he knows, and he's just like, yep.
That nod says everything. Oh.
So for me, that ending was awesome. It almost felt like a series finale, though, instead of just a season finale. which is not bad. Obviously, we know there's going to be more, so I didn't care. But it was shockingly emotional for me. They really nailed it.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I loved that whole scene. I loved their decision to have Elle go with the Byers. Something I did think about is like, why didn't this family, like, why did they move out of Hawkins immediately after the first season? I know.
God, live in the same house? Like, come on.
Yeah.
I agree.
But I'm glad that they're moving on. But it does kind of feel like the band's breaking up.
Right.
And that's a little sad.
Yep. I agree. It is a little sad, but it also opens up opportunities because in this season they proved that the kids don't have to be together to make it interesting. And bringing Russia into this, it makes it possible for these kids to literally be separated by miles. Yeah. And for it to still work for the one collective story. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think that they'll come back and this next season will be like a Christmas season. Christmas of 2020, we're going to get a new season, and it's going to be taking place over Christmas, and they're all visiting, and something happens. That's what my best guess would be. But they proved that they can do it with them miles apart too. So I don't know.
So the last thing I kind of want to talk about, like things that I really, really loved. Oh gosh, I love the fact that Dustin has a girlfriend that no one believes. That no one believes because, she lives in Salt Lake City, Utah, and he's talking to her, and that eventually he needs information to solve this problem. Mm-hmm. He knows he can get hold of her, and so he calls her, and, they show her, but, I love that they showed, her bedroom, because, you saw things that, you saw, a 1980s era, Brigham Young pennant on the wall.
I loved it.
And, all these, little things that would definitely clue you in, especially if you're from this neck of the woods in Utah. And if you'd lived here during that time, you'd say, oh, yep, that would make sense. And, that's exactly what she'd have on the wall or, whatever to kind of clue you in that she's in Salt Lake City. But before she will give the information... She makes him sing, and I love the fact that it's the song from The Neverending Story, which I loved that movie as a kid. Uh-huh. And she calls him Dusty Bun, and totally she wants him to be, the little boyfriend he was during this summer camp. But what I love about all of this, I mean, it's this great moment. But he has to do it while he's on an open channel that everyone else is listening into. Because then later, Max and Lucas are mocking him by singing the song and asking him to sing it. And he's like, I hate you all. And he flips him the bird. Because that is that resonates with me so strongly. Because if I'd been a kid, my friend was singing that with his girlfriend, and we all heard that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we would just not stop. It would be nonstop. We're gonna bust your balls about this. We're gonna give you a hard time. And I loved it. It was a great little musical sequence in the midst of a lot of really intense action that was going on. It kind of helped ground the show a little bit more and kind of bring us down from this all this crazy hype going on. And then we get back to it. And so it was a nice little break. It was a lot of fun. It was a cute little thing. But gosh, Dusty Bun. Oh. I love it.
That was a great moment. I couldn't stop laughing. Watching all the reactions, all their faces as they cut to everybody that's listening to this is so good.
Yeah.
It just makes me laugh.
Murray Blauman, that's the name of the guy.
There you go.
I just remembered it because I remember Bald Eagle and how much you hated that.
Bald Eagle, it's so good.
Bald Eagle.
The Scoops, what do they call them? The Scoops Troop.
The Scoops Troop. Yep.
So good. That whole thing was fantastic. During that montage, I got a little Jurassic Park vibe as they're driving down the road and the shadow monsters after them. I was like, hey, this reminds me of Jurassic Park. I don't know if that was intentional. With them, it probably was. I watched a 25-minute video yesterday of all the references through the first 2 seasons where the Duffer Brothers sat down. It's brand new. It's only 3 or 4 days old, and they go through every single
Ooh.
all these different movies that they reference, some directly, some indirectly, some we knew, some we didn't know. It's really cool. So go on YouTube. They're like doing the media track right now because they've got a couple pretty long, meaty videos where they talk about and break down some different parts from season 1 and 2. They're avoiding spoilers for season 3, which is too bad because there's great references there. But go and check that out. It's actually really cool.
Cool. Do you have any criticisms on season 3, Matt?
Oh boy. This is like, I imagine picking a favorite child or picking a least favorite child. I'm trying. Do you have any?
I do.
Okay,
I actually
you
have
go
a couple.
first, and I will try and think of some as I go.
So the first thing for me was the Russians. I understand that they needed to have some sort of human villain aspect, right? Because we've kind of had that in every season. In the first season, it's the doctor that basically tortures and works on Elle. And in the second season, it's kind of like Paul Reiser's character who's kind of continuing on the work, so to speak. Even though you really have a hard time really kind of hating him. And Billy kind of also was, they kind of had Billy there to be kind of a creep and whatnot. But in this one, they introduced these Russians, and it's this whole subplot, and the Russians are tampering basically with the crack in the universe, we'll call it. And they've developed this, electromagnetic thing or whatever that they're trying to reopen up the rift that the Mind Flayer's locked behind. But they don't really spend much time with any of the Russian scientists or anything trying to explain like what they're trying to do or why they're trying to do it. And so it's just like we tossed in a villain that would make total sense in the 80s, that would be a very stereotypical villain,
right,
without having to give a lot of detail. And also all the Russians are kind of stereotypes of Russians. I mean, you've got the one like Russian guy that kind of is like, always like tracking down Hopper and fighting Hopper, who just reminds me of Dolph Lundgren from Rocky IV.
Yeah, I get that.
Doesn't say much.
Yeah.
And so for me, I felt like they could have done more. We could have got maybe a little more backstory on why these Russian scientists have, co-opted the underground bunker that's under Starcourt Mall.
Right.
And like what they're actually trying to accomplish or do. Instead, we don't really get any of that detail. It's just kind of like left for us to kind of like figure out, just say, oh, well, they did this, and because they did this, now all these other things are happening. That was a little weak. Yeah. And I wish it would have been fleshed out a little bit more. That would have been better for me.
Okay. I get that. I think along those lines, I think the weakest point for me was anytime that the Terminator guy was involved. That's what we called him, the Terminator guy.
I think his name was Grigori or something.
Yeah, something stupid. I wasn't into him. I wasn't into his scenes. I was just like, oh gosh, here we go. Here's Arnold Schwarzenegger just walking with purpose wherever he goes,
right?
With a gun in his hand. And that was a little bit cliche. With a show full of, nods and cliches, that one was a little too on the nose for me. I felt like that's a good reminder. I try to block him out because I didn't really care for his involvement in the story. Plus, he kills Alexei. What a freaking jerk.
Yeah.
Gosh, man. Puts a little silencer on it and he's gone. This did remind me. The criticism that I have is, I'm not sure what my qualm is. Maybe I'll figure it out as I talk about it, but is Erica. I felt like they leaned into her sassiness too hard.
Yeah,
and it was a little annoying, and I wish they would have shown a more rounded approach to her, like they did with like the little nerd conversation with Dustin, but I felt like that never turned into anything, and she was just sassy. And she had some good lines, for sure, some lines that laugh out loud type stuff, but with all these characters and all the layers that each of them have, and they all have functions that are unique at different times, hers was just like one note.
They did overuse her quite a
too
bit.
Much. So I like her. I think she's great. I think she's funny, talented little actress, but, come on.
Okay.
A little much.
I did kind of say earlier the whole Mrs. Wheeler and Billy thing.
You hated that. So did Jesse. Jesse hated it, too.
I hated it. I think they're both great actors, and I think they both did a great job with it, and I think that they did play it in a way that really made you feel what the Duffer Brothers made you want to feel with that.
Yes, dirty.
Yeah, dirty and
Yeah.
wrong and like, but like I just, I don't want to, how to put this, because I enjoyed a lot of the realism and like, the real kind of stories they were trying to tell, but like in a show like this, I don't want to be like worrying about like is Mike's mom getting ready to go bang the lifeguard from the pool?
Right.
Like I don't want to devote energy to that. I get that that's probably a very real scenario that, has probably happened quite a lot. And that's, something that, married women think about.
Right.
Sure, that's fine. But just for me, I felt like I got a little too much screen time. And like if it would have been the scene where they show like all the married women just kind of like checking him out,
right,
and they would have done that a time or two, that would have been okay. I would have been fine. But like the whole like they're having a conversation and they're talking and he's trying to convince her to meet him at the Motel 6.
Yeah.
And then they show her getting ready. It's like, like what's next? Are we gonna actually see this thing happen? Because if that would have happened, that would have been a big turnoff to me. I really think I would have had a hard time going forward watching the rest of the season if I had to watch, adultery with Mrs. Wheeler and like skanky Billy. Just
I don't necessarily have the same feelings on that. It didn't really bother me that much. Maybe I'm just a disgusting, heartless pig human. But I do understand that. Jesse was all sorts of worried about it too. And I was like, she's not going to do it. I guess I just knew that she wasn't going to do it. I knew something was going to happen to them and it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So it didn't bother me that much. But I don't know. I think that's how it happens sometimes. Just speaking of cheating on a spouse or adultery, it's just little steps by steps, right? First it's flirting as he's walking by, and then it's you're swimming and you have a conversation, and then it's... I think it almost was a cautionary tale. That's how I'll choose to say it. Of the slippery slope of all things that can make you do stupid stuff, It's a slippery slope. And
sure.
She almost,
gave it up to Skanky Billy.
Yeah, that's all the wretched nasties. Billy? I mean, it never would have happened anyway because Mind Flayer had other ideas for Billy.
Right. Yeah.
The perfect specimen, Billy, to take. No friends, no one to talk to about this. Completely cold-hearted, just dark on the inside, and again, going on Billy train down. But anyway.
So like I said, I had a few small criticisms, a few things that I didn't feel, like the pacing in the early episodes seemed a little slow. It did ramp towards the end and the middle of the season and get better, but like some of the early episodes I felt like were a little on the slow pacing side. Carrie Elwest's character I felt like was kind of a waste. I wish they would have done more with him.
Underutilized.
Yeah.
He's such a great actor.
I mean, they try to make him into this kind of sleazy mayor, but like I didn't really get that he was like sleazy. Like the first half of the show is more like just kind of like he's just kind of like looking out for himself. But I didn't get the sleazy aspect until you realize like, okay, he willingly knew that Russian commies were involved, and he sold out his town basically to the Russians.
Right.
Then it's like okay, but like you don't get that till like the very kind of end.
Later on.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I was hoping for more from him when I heard he was cast because I really have liked some of the projects he's been involved in. But in this interview I was telling you about, they actually say that they wanted to have a mayor who was self-absorbed enough to let the Russians in, and they based their character off of the mayor from Jaws. Who just doesn't care, right? It's all about the money. 4th of July weekend, keep the beaches open. And that's what his is. Nope, there's all this stuff going on. No, I'm going to distract them with this big party and this 4th of July extravaganza with a carnival. And so they tried to draw parallels there. And after seeing that, I was like, okay, I can appreciate what they were trying to do. And I do enjoy... I did like his character, actually. Once I started to get who he was, really.
Yeah.
That he was just this spineless, stupid idiot.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the ending.
Let's talk.
The show kind of wraps up, and we see that the Byers and Elle are going to leave, and everyone else is kind of left behind. Hopper dies in this explosion that we see pulverize everyone else, and then you kind of then we get this credit scene. This scene where we're now in Russia, and we see this Russian guy that gets basically fed to what? A Demigorgon. And right before they feed it, they say, no, not the American.
Mm-hmm.
Is Hopper alive?
Yes.
You think so, huh?
Yes. Is he the American? 50-50. I think there's a 100% chance he's alive. I do. I don't even think for a second. After watching that scene, I went through 1,000 different reasons, or 1,000 different ways he could have been alive. And no, I do not think he is dead. I don't.
Do you think he's in the Upside Down because the crack was still somewhat open, and maybe he got sucked in?
Yes. So here's I've got two theories. Okay.
Yep.
One, he's in the Upside Down, just in the Upside Down, right? He went through the crack in the Upside Down. If you go back and watch it, he looks at it and then he's like, okay, you can shut this down because I'm gonna jump through. Yeah. Okay. That's option one. Option two for me is this is going to sound crazy. This is my conspiracy theory about what the Russians are doing, what everything is this is the Cold War. The Russians are preparing for war. They want war. They don't understand what the Upside Down is completely, and they actually have discovered that they can be portals. So you go in the Upside Down in
so they can move a huge
Hawkins,
army.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's my other thing is Hopper went through. In my scenario, both times he goes through the Upside Down, but instead of landing in the Upside Down, this is a portal where he just is in Russia. And he gets captured and is put in the American, or in that prison thing. The other one, he's just in the Upside Down and they have to find him. Those are my theories. I do not think he is dead, though. Because I don't think they would tease him being alive and kill us again emotionally. But that's...
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think he's alive, and it's almost not even for story-related reasons. The Duffer Brothers have said that they're going to do 4 seasons of this show. Mm-hmm. They said that they were approached to continue on to try to make it 7 or 8 seasons. Right. And they said, we're only going to do that if we have good shows. They said... good stories. They said, we feel we've got about 4 seasons in us.
Yeah.
And that's what they said. So.
We'll see.
We'll see. But, I mean, that Netflix money, right? Mm-hmm. But if they only do 4 seasons, why kill off one of these characters that's beloved and that really can do some things narratively wise, for the story and advancing characters? Why kill him off at the end of season 3? Why not have him in all 4 seasons?
Yeah.
That's one of my thoughts. The other thought is that they specifically mentioned the American. We know it's not the sleazy mayor. We know it's not the Paul Reiser character. We know it's not any of the kids. So what American would they be referring to? Also, what American had a huge interaction with a bunch of the Russians in this season? And the only answer is Hopper.
Right.
So
Hopper makes the most sense.
I think he's still alive.
There's some theories that it's Papa is the American that they've captured and they're keeping down there.
Yeah.
And that may be true just by virtue of the fact they have a Demogorgon and maybe they're using him as... He's got all this information about kind of the powers and the Upside Down, and I could see that being true as well. But they're weaponizing these things in some way, the Demogorgons. So hey, it could be anything. I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens, but I'm with you. I think Hopper's alive.
How long do you think we have to wait till we get another season?
It's at least a year and a half.
I think another 18 months?
December 2020 is when we're getting it. I think it's a Christmas season. We've seen, themed season.
Yeah,
twice.
Halloween.
We saw Halloween in season 2.
And then 4th of July.
Yeah, I think we're getting Christmas. Just because they mentioned it, right? Even in the final episode as they're saying goodbye, I'll come back for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And you're like...
Right.
So it's going to be a Christmas season.
Yeah, it's possible.
Which would be cool. I think it would be cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know. How long do you think we're going to wait? Hopefully not as long as we had to wait for season 3. That seemed too long.
It seemed way long. I'm hoping it's a year. I'm hoping it's a little less, maybe, but we're going to wait a little bit. It's not going to be immediate. So
Netflix takes their time recently. It's felt like. Got into the show Lost in Space. I don't know if you saw that show on Netflix.
I'm aware of it. I haven't seen it yet, though.
It's a good show. Watch it with Jesse. We enjoyed it. And that felt like it was forever ago. And they still don't have a release date for season 2. They just said another season is coming. And so I don't know if Netflix has... I mean, this is obviously their biggest asset. Their biggest property is Stranger Things far and away. So you would think this would be their priority. So I'm hopeful that it's, like you said, a year or even less. That would be great. I think the scope of the show is too big. I think the Duffer Brothers write too densely, and the prop department has to do too much.
Right.
That it's got to be a year and a half. I'd be okay if they said December 2020. I'd be like, okay, there's no Star Wars that year, so I can devote my time and attention to Stranger Things.
All right, so let's wrap this up. Stranger Things Season 3, your stamp of approval. Is it getting thumbs up? Is it getting thumbs down?
Man,
stars?
Favorite season, and this is one of my favorite shows. And before we go, shout out to one of the greatest horror scenes ever in the hospital. I was blown away at that whole sequence when Nancy and Jonathan and the flesh monster... when dead bodies,
it's terrifying.
They absolutely nailed that scene. It was terrifying in every way. Anyway, I just had to point that out because that should be nominated for every award ever. It's such a great scene. Tense, very tense. Oh, so great.
I'm with you. I love this. I thought the third season was a good follow-up to the previous seasons. I didn't feel like overall it really lacked. I mean, I've had a little bit of criticism with this season, but I've had a little bit of criticism with all the seasons because nothing's ever perfect. But I mean, as a whole, it's just amazing, amazing show. I'm so glad that it happened. I actually want to go back and rewatch all 3 seasons now in a row because I'm sure there's a lot of other things besides the pop culture references. I'm sure there's a lot of other things that now are going to make a little more sense and match up that I maybe would look at with different eyes this time around. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm going to steal your question from a little earlier for our question of the week for the Super Friends, and that is going to be, who is your favorite recurring character that's been in previous seasons, and then who is your favorite new character? And we'll hear those answers and read those answers next week. And like I said, you can get us all the normal places to answer that. You know, Facebook, Twitter, the email, Instagram, and the voicemail. So hit us up. We will read those answers next week. So anyway, that wraps it up. From all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude, to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you, always.